So, hello.
Hi,
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Please start by telling us your name, a little introduction about who you are. If you want, you can just stick to your name and who you lost. It can be, if you want, oh, I forgot to say, you could either speak about one person specifically if you want,
Mm-hmm.
or it can be attached to multiple losses.
Mm-hmm.
Grief actually also doesn't need to necessarily just be a person, like a human being. It can be grief of something else.
Okay,
Yeah, so
interesting.
it's really just
Okay,
up to you.
okay,
All right. So yeah, so let's start. We can just say you tell us your name and who you've
cool.
lost.
Okay, so my name is Lindy, and the person that I lost was my dad. So he passed away on September 4th, 2019,
September 4th, 2019. Oh, this so it would have been
like a few weeks
a
ago, yeah,
few weeks ago.
type of vibe.
Okay. Um, so let's actually start there. I suppose because this is a couple today's about 16th, 17th. So 13 days ago, so about 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
you were, I suppose, going through the motions,
Hmm.
do you want to walk us through that? How was that?
I think now it's easier to go through the day in the sense that when the day comes, I don't feel the need to be sad. Um, it's less of a sad day. It's more of a day of just like remembering. And like, of course, I have sad moments, but it's not a day I dread, or it's not a day that I go through feeling heavy or anything like that. Yeah.
So how did you spend that day?
That day this year, I was at work. I just started my new job, but usually my sister and I would go wine tasting because that was something my dad would have wanted us to do. We like to tell ourselves. Um, but yeah, this year I was at work just because I'd just started a new job. I didn't want to take my fourth day off. Um, Not to say to do nothing, but I didn't want to just be at home sitting in my thoughts. I thought I can be at work and still be okay, kind of like.
And I know relationship wise he's your father, or he was your
Mhm.
father, your dad. But what who was he to you? I don't know if I'm asking correctly. Like
Yeah.
what walk us through your relationship with him, your favorite memories with him, what you miss the
Okay.
most.
I think my dad was very stubborn. Um, Now that I'm older, I feel like I can see the intention behind his actions. As a child, it was just a bit like, oh my gosh, this guy's so annoying, or like, this guy's so strict, or like, what is he even going on about? What does it even matter? So, a lot of my memories attached to my dad was him probably scolding us or being strict, but I now understand that that was his way of showing us love. Um, so I have a lot of memories of us going to church. One thing about my dad, he you could groove. Go to groove if you want, have a ball of a time, leave the country if you want. That's fine. But Sunday at 9 a.m. at church, you better be there. If he needed to come pick you up from wherever you were, they'll leave the house at 6 to come and get you. So that's one of my strongest memories, I think. Um, Definitely Sunday, 9 a.m., you have to be at church. And then I have a lot of random memories, like even when I go back home now. He used to ask me to just drive him around a lot. Now I know he was just trying to spend time with me because we could never just sit and have a chat. My dad was not that kind of guy. So he'd say, come with me today, you're just going to drive me around. And so I'd just be like random places, meeting random people, being introduced to random men and women. And this is your aunt, this is your uncle. So that's another memory. I have a lot of aunts and uncles. I don't really know who they are, all of them, but they're out there. So that's another memory. Yeah, I'd say those are two big ones now that I
Okay.
think about it.
What do you miss the most?
Hmm. I miss having someone to solve my problems, I think. Um, he didn't have the answers all the time, but it was nice to know that I could ask him. And I feel like most of the time he would make a plan to try and help. Even if it wasn't the answer or the solution that I needed, he would do. If you asked him for something and he told you, go ask this next person, like, okay, but you knew he was going to try and do something in the background. So I think, and my dad was a man of action, like, who's going to stop me type of thing. So I think I miss that, having someone who I knew would fight for me. Even if the fight was silly, he was going to fight.
You've gone into really good detail about the kind of person your dad was. What characteristics and traits do you think you inherited from him?
I definitely think like that life of the party kind of vibe. If we're gonna go big, we're gonna go big. If we're outside, we're outside. My dad was literally that exact same person. He was very entertaining when we went out. Sometimes a bit too entertaining, too a bit to the point of being embarrassing. So, but I feel like definitely got those traits. My dad was not patient. I am not patient. Like I feel like my dad is not in our family anymore, but I do a good job of making his presence known. So yeah, he was. I wouldn't say strict. Strict is not the right word. He was firm because he couldn't be strict. Like I don't think he knew how to be. Um, but yeah, I think he was firm in certain regards, and I hope that's something that I've inherited from him as well. Sure.
Okay.
So it happened very fast. He wasn't sick, and he got sick. And if I remember correctly, it was like he had a cold or something um, that just like wouldn't go away. But it was very short. So like he was sick for about a week. He was struggling to breathe and stuff like that. I don't know if they actually diagnosed it before he then passed away, but from my understanding, because I wasn't at home, I was in Cape Town. But he was sick. He went to his doctor, his physician. They didn't correctly diagnose him, um, and then he ended up going to the hospital. And then in the hospital, they did drain fluid from his lungs, but then he passed away from internal bleeding. No one noticed that he was bleeding inside. So they addressed the issue, which was the liquid in his lungs, but then he passed away from internal bleeding.
How did you find out?
Oof, yeah, this might be an emotional time actually.
It's okay. Do you want to take a moment? Okay. I'm just going to pause quickly.
So the timing was really, really weird. Um, the time that he passed away was the same time that the whole Uyinini thing was happening. So people who aren't familiar with that whole situation, it was the student who got killed at the post office. So that day was the day that they were having like a whole demonstration and stuff on campus. So we went to campus and then that whole demonstration happened. And then we knew we weren't going to have school for the rest of the week. I don't remember what day of the week it was. But I just knew we were off school. Terrible circumstances, but you know, in university, we don't have school anymore. Like, what are we doing for the rest of the week? Um, and for some weird reason, we really didn't have a reason, but we were just like, let's all go to my one friend's house. Um, so we weirdly were just like, oh no, let's just hang out. Let's just spend the rest of the day together. Let's chill. Like, we've got no school tomorrow anyway, so we can drink, we can do whatever. It's going to be cool. So we went to my friend's house, and one of my friends actually had work because she was working like night shift job. So she left, and then we would just hang out. And I think it was during her break. And for some reason, we said, just come from the office because her break is like, I think it's an hour. I can't remember how long it was. But we were like, you know, just come from the office. Let's just hang out. You know, you might as well. It's not far and all of that. I think that's how it happened. The details are a little bit fuzzy. But anyway, for whatever reason, me and my friends were all in the same place at the same time. And then my aunt called me, and my aunt doesn't phone me. Um, she doesn't phone me. And we knew he was sick because the day before that, I'd actually called him and spoken to him. I think it was the day before that. Yeah. Because we were going out and he was already in the hospital. And I still remember that conversation because he could barely breathe when I spoke to him. Um, but he was just like, he was okay. He's like, you know, don't worry about me. I'm fine or whatever. Um, so we knew he wasn't well. He's obviously in the hospital. So she's calling me, and I'm like, oh, this is a bit strange. I think I even said to my friends, guys, my aunt never calls me, so this is weird. So I answer the phone. She's like, hi, Lindy. How are you? So I'm like, we're pretty good. You know, school just got canceled. So the rest of the week, we don't have school. And she's like, yeah, okay. I have to tell you that your dad passed away. So I think when she said it, I don't remember how exactly, but I think pretty much she told me, and I gave my friend my phone. because it wasn't processing in my brain. So pretty much that's what happened. She told me, my friend then took the call, and she was like obviously asking my aunt questions, or my aunt was telling us that this is what happened, whatever, whatever. Then eventually, in tears, obviously, I then got back on the phone, and she's like, yeah, so he passed away. I've already spoken to your mom. I think she's the one who also told me, don't worry, we're going to arrange for you guys to get home. So that was how that happened. Very fast. But I think, like I said, for some miraculous reason, I happened to be around my friends. So I was surrounded by people that I loved when I found out.
That can't have been easy.
No,
Can't
not
have
at
been
all.
easy.
I
Uh,
think actually harder than that was telling my sister, because after I found out, I had to go to her is and tell her. And that was very, very difficult. I called her friends and I'm like, listen, so this is what happened. So we're coming to tell her, because I didn't want to tell her on the phone. And I didn't have to say anything. She saw my face and she knew, kind of like. So, yeah, I think harder than me finding out, it was having to tell her. That was really hard.
are you the firstborn?
Mhm.
Are you the firstborn?
Yeah.
Like, I guess the immediate emotions, especially now when you went and you had to tell your sister, what were like the immediate emotions? In
Definitely shock. Shock because there's nothing I can do about it. It's a fact. Um, it's not reversible. There's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing anyone else can do about it. So definitely shock, and I was definitely very, very sad. Um, Sad that he was gone, but also sad about all the things that I could have said, should have said, would have said. Um, yeah, and it was a lot. And I think also one of the things is my dad passed away the day after my mom's birthday. So I was also really sad about that, because, like, for the rest of our lives, her birthday is always going to be followed by this super tragic event. But something about that was also sort of not poetic, but it's like he held on to not ruin her birthday, if that makes sense. So yeah, just a lot of emotions, but I think definitely shocked and sad would be at the top. Yeah.
okay. And walk us through what happened once you touched down, or let's say got home, because I'm assuming people had already gathered at home.
Oh, this is such a, so many things were happening. So we were kind of homeless, because my family was in between homes. They were literally just about to move. So now it's like we can't have the funeral. No, they had just moved. Yes, they had just moved. Um, but where they were staying was very, very far, like out of town, kind of like 40 minutes out of Harare. So I don't, I wasn't part of the conversations, but it ended up being at my aunt's house. So the from the moment I was told till we got home, it's kind of a blur. Um, but it's because, like I said, people showed up. So we have a family friend. I think I sometimes refer to her as my cousin. We grew up in the same church. Like, our families have been friends for years. I think my grandma's friends with her mom, things like that. Um, she was there. As I think she knew soon after we found out. And she stayed quite far, like 30, 40 minutes away from us in Cape Town. She drove all the way there. She was with us at my friend's house. She's like, what do you need? I think she went home with us and she helped us like pack our stuff that we needed. And then, yes, then we went to stay with her. So she's like, come with me. You guys can stay at my house. I guess to alleviate the stress from us, but also our friends, we were all just students at the time. What are we going to do? We don't even know what's going on. So she came to pick us up that day, um, packed up our stuff to go home. I didn't have I just remember I didn't have anything to wear at a funeral. So I remember packing and being like, I don't know what I'm going to wear. That was the first thing. The second thing was my hair was blue. At the time, I had blue braids. And I thought, how am I going to undo my hair? And I thought, there's no way I'm going to be at the funeral with ugly hair. So the braids stayed in. Um, yeah, it was a blur. Helped my sister pack. Got in the car. We were at my cousin's house. I think we ate. I don't remember. I really can't tell you. The airport was a blur because we were so overstimulated, and also every now and again we're crying. So like they're trying to scan your back through security. I'm in tears. People are looking at you like, and you're just trying to keep it together. So that was a blur. We get home, well, home to where the funeral was happening, at my aunt's house, and we see my mom for the first time, and she looked up, and the first thing she said was, "Lindy, your hair." It's like I said, because it's blue. So that was what it was like getting back. Seeing my mom, I think it struck all over again. Like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. Because my mom was also really just torn apart. This is her best friend for life. So yeah, I think it was really a blur. I really can't tell you what we were wearing. I can't tell you what time of day we flew. I can't tell you what time we arrived. I don't even remember who picked me up from the airport, actually, now that I think about it. I don't remember who picked us up from the airport. I don't know if we stopped somewhere first. No. Yeah, just a blur. Very blurry, very overstimulated.
How did you deal with the blue braids?
I didn't take them out. If you check pictures from my dad's funeral,
Wait, so but did you not like wrap a doek or something?
ew.
Rah.
I had the blue braids. Had to ask my friends to bring me stuff to wear. So like a couple of my friends, I was like, I don't have anything to wear. So if you have anything you think I could wear, please bring that. My outfit was just put together like that. I didn't have a duck. I think people might have tried to say wear a duck. I think I told them, did you guys know my dad? He was never gonna make me undo my hair, so I'm not gonna undo my hair, and that's pretty much.
Also, it's a bit funny how I guess your mom's first response was Lindy, your hair, but it's like I wasn't
She,
really
yeah, like I
anticipating that. Oh,
wasn't
I gotta
planning on, I didn't think my
I'm
dad was
not
gonna
coming to a
die.
funeral, son. You have funeral hair. Fair. Okay.
And like, who was gonna stop and do my braids before the funeral? And like I said, I didn't want to look ugly. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. Post funeral, I'm assuming maybe you took a few days before you had to come back because you were still in the middle of school, right?
yes, and that was our decision. So I think if my family had had it our way, we were probably gonna stay at home for like a month and just like gather ourselves. But I was in my final year, final semester. I I had to go back to school. So we were there, I think, for a week after. So we arrived by the weekend till the following weekend. Then we went home. We went back to Cape Town.
Okay. And how was that? Because you had the pressure of it's final year, final semester, but you're also dealing with the fact that you just lost your dad, and like you mentioned, your sister was there. So you had to be multiple people. You had to be Lindy,
At
student who's
school.
trying to
Yeah.
graduate, Lindy who's just lost her dad, but also Lindy who's older sister to sister who's also just lost her
Yeah.
dad.
Her and the other two, because they're young. They were so young. So like I think my little sister said, like, when people ask me about my dad, what am I gonna say? Because I think she was, yo, 25. She was 10. So, and what do you say? I don't know. I wasn't in the situation. So that was hard. My aunt recommended grief therapy, like when it happened. She was like, that was soon after. Yeah. She was like, I think you guys should go to grief therapy. We took her on it. So we found a place. And I think that's actually, I'll say, saved me, or helped me process my grief. And I think is what helps me process my grief even today.
Let's touch on that actually. Like, were there tools they gave you to deal with anything? Like, walk us through what are specifically about grief therapy
Helped.
helped. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I think it was one, judgment free zone. So someone who has never met me, doesn't know my dad, doesn't know my family, doesn't know anything. Um, Being able to, one, talk about the things that I didn't get a chance to talk about with him, and sort of having someone help me navigate the fact that I'll never have answers for those things. So I think that's something she helped me with, being able to process that you have these big feelings or big thoughts, that you may never get answers to, but how do I then accept that? was a big point. And like, he wasn't a perfect person. So just having the opportunity to say, like, he's dead, but like also at the same time, I still also had a couple of things like grievances. So being able to talk to someone who's not going to be offended by the fact that you're talking about things like that, I think also helped me process, because when someone dies, no one's gonna be like, yeah, they were a bad person, and like that guy owed me money and all of these things. You know what I mean? People want to keep it positive, like all of the positive things. It was a good chance for me to also just touch on the negative things, or like some of the negative emotions that I felt as well, because like I said, it was sudden. So I was also a bit frustrated and angry. So like processing all of those things. Yeah. It saved me.
That's good. That's good. That's really good. You mentioned that, your dad was very strict about church.
Yeah.
Um, Prior to his death and before, let's say, you left for Cape Town, when you're still physically under his roof every day, what was your faith like?
I think because I was in high school for the most part, towards the end of me before I left for university, I'd say it was probably shaky then, because like I said, I'm a teenager. It's now drinking age. I'm trying to be cool. So, but I think growing up and everything, I would say it was quite strong. He was very involved with the church. We were also then involved. We were told to be involved in the church, so like youth was a thing that we did. Um, on Sundays, church was the thing. So I would say it was quite strong. And I was part of the praise and worship team at church actually for, was it a couple of years or for a few years? So yeah, I'd say it was quite strong. That was, yeah, what an interesting memory.
Nice. Um, and how was your faith affected, if at all? I mean, we don't need to dwell too much on like when you're now here in Cape Town, but let's specifically after he passed.
um, I think it made me think about my relationship with God a lot, because either the day he passed away or the day before he passed away, um, my dad like called the pastor to come visit him at the hospital, and apparently he rededicated his life to God and everything. So that was something touching, that he had the foresight, I guess, to have the moment to think, okay, if my life ends today, um, these are sort of what I want my part of my final words to be. So it definitely made me think about that. Um, but also, I was confused, I would say, because you're dedicating your life to the same God who's taking you away. So weird. Yeah.
Fair. And how about now?
Hmm. Now, I would say I definitely still believe in God, Jesus, the Trinity, and all of that. What I struggle with is the vessels that his message gets translated to me. Um, so I think I really struggle with certain churches or with following certain people, because people are not perfect. But I still very much think about the fact that in his last moments, he made that decision. And so it's something that I haven't figured out yet, but it's something important. Um, yeah.
You mentioned earlier that now, 2025, you didn't have the same, I guess, response or reaction when the date came about as you had in previous years.
Mhm.
Um, do you feel like you had a, let's call it like a breakthrough moment or breakthrough season where you felt a significant, I guess, transition in the healing process?
Yes, but I can't tell you when it was.
Okay.
Um, I just know my grief shifted at some point from, oh my gosh, it really sucks, he's not here, to sort of seeing where me and my family are now. and I don't know how to say this, or I don't know how people will receive this, but like he doesn't fit in the picture anymore. Um, and that's not to say I don't miss him. And I think that's what I always want to make clear when I say that. Um, not to say that he wouldn't fit if he was here. Of course he would. But I feel like the moment I sort of looked around at my life and my family's life, and I thought, the girls are all right. You know, like, okay, the girls are gonna be all right. I can't tell you when exactly it was. I can't tell you how many years after, because I definitely don't think it was in the first year at all. Even the first 2 years, I don't think. But there was just a moment where I was like, you know what? The girls are gonna be all right. Like he's up there doing something. He's backing us from the top. So yeah.
That's good. I guess in terms of touching more on that transition, did you have any like rituals or like, let's call them rituals or routines that you practiced in order to try and actively work through the grief?
So I think going back to school, so that forced me to have a routine. You know, I'm gonna have to get up and go to school, even if I don't feel like it. But like I allowed myself to grieve, so I made sure that my lecturers knew what situation I was in. Because I think there was even a test that I didn't write because I just gotten back, so I definitely hadn't studied. So like, there's one exam I had to go in. I think my exam was with like 70%. It was crazy. It was crazy. But I think that, so having a routine at school, but I also just allowed myself to grieve. So, like, if I needed to cry, I would just cry, even if it was really awkward. I think there was a day I remember I even had a breakdown in the library. And I just called my friend and I was like, dude, I'm in the middle of the library and I'm sobbing, help. So she came and she's like, are you okay? Let's go outside. But yeah, so going back to school and then just letting the emotions flow. So if I was feeling sad, because I think when I was back home in Zim, I didn't do that. Um, I feel like I didn't stop myself, but my my sisters were falling apart. So I felt like I didn't want us to all be falling apart at the same time. But once I left them, I think then if I needed to fall apart, I was like, okay, it's okay. I'm on my own.
So obviously, like we typically focus on the good that people did, right? And we're going to touch on that. But I'd actually like us to start with, what do you think people did or said that didn't help your grieving process?
What
Because I know a lot of
happened?
people, for example, you spoke about your friend who drove all the way 30 minutes,
Eh,
or your friends who were around you who helped.
mm,
Um, so they were positively helping you in that, especially in that initial bit of the grieving process, right?
yeah,
They were there physically, emotionally, helping you actively.
yeah.
But what are some of the things people did or said that you're like, bro, you know, right now is not the
Not
time,
time
or
and
like
place.
I never needed to hear this.
Yeah, definitely that what happened question. Someone will say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, but what happened?" Oh my gosh, read the room. What do you mean? Like, and the thing is, I get it because I'm also nosy. I also want to know, but like, don't ask the person who's grieving what happened. Ask my friends, and then if they want to tell you, they'll tell you. But like, it's not productive to ask me what happened because I'm still probably processing what's happened. The last thing I want to do is have to relive it for your sake because you're nosy. So that was not helpful. um, I think people mean well when they reach out and they say, let me know if you need anything, but i didn't I don't think that's helpful because it's now putting another burden on me of like, okay, what do I need help with? What's this person's capacity to help me? Or like people say, let me know what I can help with. The thing you can help me with, you can't. You know what I mean? In an ideal world, you'll bring my dad back. You can't do that. So it's also people offering help but not being specific. It then makes it difficult because, like I'm saying, now I have so many other things to think about. Okay, this person's offered to help. Here's the list of things. Okay, but do they have enough money? Or are they gonna have enough time? Or this? And like, I can throw things at you, but if I throw something at you and then you say no, that's even worse. So that's not very helpful. I think, yeah, those main two things stick up for me. Just like, don't be nosy. At least don't be nosy with the person who's grieving.
Okay. You raised something really interesting about we typically ask, if you need anything, let me know. If you need anything, let me know, right?
Yeah.
And walk me through. So, from the perspective of someone who was a student at the time. So, let's say this is specifically being watched by someone who's a student who's just lost a loved one, right? And their friend needs to know how to show up for them. I know obviously it's very specific to
To
individuals,
your
but there's a
situation.
general thing that maybe most people won't think about. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have a friend who's out of school, they won't think, as a student who's going through grief, they might need this, or so what things, for example, would you have wanted or appreciated if they were more specific about?
Um, don't ask me what I need. Offer something. Um, so if you don't have the means financially to, like I'm saying, people showed up. Some people bought us flights to get home. If you don't have the capacity to do that, a simple thing was just being there. A lot of my friends were also students, like I said, but they were just there. So they just came to my friend's house. We were all just kind of sitting there. I'm kind of bawling my eyes out. We were probably drinking as well because time and place. So, like, I think as a student, that would be my main thing. Just be there and be there without expectations. So just let the person be. Um, if they want to cry, let them have that moment. If they want to talk about it, talk about it. Let them talk about it. If they want to tell you the same thing 10 times, let them do that. And if you don't have the capacity to do that, then don't be there, if that makes sense. Because again, that's now an extra burden of you clearly don't want to be here. You clearly don't care. But just be open to letting the person go through all of the emotions because they're in shock. So let them go through the motions, let them ask you random questions. But I think try not to be too probing. Try not to ask, like, what do you need? Because I really don't know what I need right now. But like people were making sure we ate, for example. Make sure that I'm eating. You might not be able to buy me food, but if you come over to my house, I might have groceries. Make a meal for me. So you're taking away take away decisions that I have to make, alleviate the amount of decisions that I have to make. I think that would help a lot because then I have more time to just process what's going on.
How did losing your dad affect your friendships and or relationships?
Hmm.
So maybe we can start with friendships, right?
Okay.
Hmm.
It showed me who shows up or who, because I can't say there's people who didn't show up because I feel like all my friends did show up, but I think the extent to which they showed up or the capacity that they showed up, I really got to see people who really cared about me, people who put things aside for a couple of days just to be there. I had a friend when I went to Zim, I think she stayed with us the whole time while we were at the funeral. She's like, I'm just going to come sleep over. I don't care about my house. My family can wait. I'll just be there with you while this is happening. So that was nice as well, just having a familiar face around. Because there was a lot of strangers, a lot of, yeah. Um, so, yeah, I think with my friendships, it helped me see who was there for me and just have an appreciation of like, it helped me see ways people showed up for me, but also ways I can show up for people as well. Yeah.
That's good. Um, and relationships. Well, like, I guess romantic relationships. If at all, like there actually might not have been any impact.
Yeah, I don't think it's really. No, I think I became more strict um, after my dad passed away, in terms of not things I tolerated, but yeah, just the kinds of relationships I accepted for myself. Um, but I also think it was complicated because I'm also going through all of the grief emotions. So I'd say now more than before when it initially happened. Now I think I'm more strict. When it initially happened, yeah, no, I don't think it actually, because I wasn't in a relationship at the time. I was not in a relationship at the time. So it didn't really affect me then, but I think now I'm more strict.
And the final bit, um, this is just, it's very open ended and it's personal. So you're gonna just look right into the camera and
Mhm.
imagine that the person on the other side of the lens is someone who's going through grief in that very moment when they're watching the video,
Okay.
they're going through grief as well,
Okay.
right? And yep, just share whatever you feel moved to share to
Okay.
someone who's grieving right now.
Okay. Whew. I would say if you're grieving now, feel how you feel. Don't let people shame you for how you feel. Don't be afraid to feel how you feel. Um, if you're angry, be angry. If you're sad, be sad. If you're happy, be happy as well, because people will always have an opinion. So don't worry about how people feel about how you're going to process your grief. Go through whatever emotions you're going to feel. It's not linear, and there's 5 stages of grief, but they don't happen in the order. So be prepared for the fact that you are going to have days where you just feel terrible. And there are days where you're just going to want to reach out to the person and you can't. But there are going to be good days where you remember the good times and you think, oh my gosh, this person would have loved this moment. Lean into those days more, because those days, the memories that you had, are sort of what keeps the person alive. Um, and I would also say, don't be afraid to move on with life, in the sense that grief takes someone away from you. That person is no longer there, and you sort of feel guilty for the fact that you're still there and this person is no longer on the earth. Um, don't let that eat you up. You are allowed to move on. You are allowed to be happy after someone's passed away. Um, if it's someone you were in a relationship with, you are allowed to have new relationships. Life doesn't end because you're grieving someone. That person would want you to keep living your life. So yeah, I think those would be my parting words.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Are we
How was
done?
this experience for you?
I really liked it actually. I really, really liked it. I would do it again actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like it, like I said, I don't feel like I get the chance to talk about it a lot. So it was nice to just like talk about it when I'm not out with my friends. Yeah. It was cool. I liked it. 10
Awesome.
out of 10.
Oh, bless.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.